I talked about Doom's aggressive push-forward combat a while ago, and it's no different in the new Doom Eternal. Every fight feels like a sweaty, heart-pounding buzz that you would normally get in a multiplayer game. The sequel adds new aggressive elements to its core combat loop, like the new dash move, which lets you move quickly forwards, backwards, and also sideways. Shoulder-mounted elementals like your freeze bomb and the flame bulge that either freeze or set these cuties on fire. It's pretty cool, or lit, like the kids say these days. It also adds aggressive resource management to the gameplay, along with a reduction in ammo count, so you're constantly running out of ammo and have to chainsaw a fodder enemy to get it back, which gives a different flow and rhythm to the core combat loop that was established in Doom 2016. And there's so many awesome fights and boss battles in the new Doom, but I want to break down the level that really stood out to me and see why it was gory, goofy, and giddy as hell. After a detour to Earth to take out a demon-infested lair, aptly titled Super Gornast, the Doom guy is on his mission to locate one of the Hell Priests. And so he goes to the Ark Complex to look for Samuel Hayden, who conveniently knows where he is. Just how things work in video games, don't question it. To buy this level, you'd have acquired most of your weapons, except for the one-hit kill ones like the BFG and the Crucible, which are like the get-out-of-jail-free cards if there was a jail in Mars. So this level is impeccably paced, with little breathing room for exploration or platforming. It begins with a bunch of narrow linear corridors filled with monsters from the era of demons throughout the game. You charge in at full tilt, taking them out like a raging bull for the most part, which leads to a courtyard filled with purple sludge and blocked doors. This forces the player to stick to monkey bars or high ground, like the overturned buses or pillars, to keep off the floor, as they cancel out both your jumps and dash moves, which really puts you at a disadvantage as a player, as enemy attacks are relentless, unless you're mobile and aware of your position in the arena. The actual fight though is already in progress, as there's infighting where the enemies attack each other until you come in. It spawns 5 of the heavy enemy types, with 2 of them spawning again, and few fodder enemies like the gargoyles and soldiers. They're not all present at once, but are spawned after you take out the wave of enemies in phases, or when one of them drops to a third of its health. So with the gate to Hayden's base being blocked, you set out to use the turrets to clear a path, which is a classic Doom level design called the Horseshoe, that takes you off the beaten path and brings you back to the intended path, but gives the player a sense of progression and lets the designers give them a specific experience or take in the environment, which they normally wouldn't if it was a straight line to the exit. Anyway, the next section introduces you to the Cyber Mancubus, which spews toxic goo at you and is heavily armoured, but is vulnerable to your blood punch, which shows how each demon in Eternal has a specific attack or weapon weakness and its effects on the player tactics. Player tactics? That sounds like a new miniseries for my show. Enemies like the Carcass can put up plasmic shields that can prevent you from shooting other enemies or block you from an air dash, which not only adds enemy variety but makes you prioritize the ones you need to take out first. Next up, we zigzag through a few disheveled buildings with fewer enemies and simple platforming bits, which are not egregious but aren't Doom's best assets either. The puzzles usually smell like one but are rarely anything that has you thinking, but they're better paced than the ones that we got in the predecessor. Which leads us to the most intense fight in this level, where you're literally dropped a few floors when you call for an elevator. This arena features 6 of the heavy demons of the roster, 3 of which are spawned 4 times in waves, and some of them even spawn together. It's also littered with a few health pickups and power-ups that can give you one-hit melee kill for a few seconds. The layout of the restaurant lobby is also more horizontal, with portals that whip you back to the lower cellar arena and the outer kitchen wall. With demons coming in waves, it really makes you push forward every second with little respite. Also, there's no verticality in this level, which reinforces the player to move forwards and around the enemies, but not above them. A mechanic that you saw in other levels but not in this one. This arena really makes the player get the rhythm of its core combat chess, even if you've been jumping around and messing about so far. So after that, you jump onto the elevator that takes you up to the east turret so you can shoot one of the tentacles, which takes you through more narrow vents and underground areas, which shows off the more industrial parts of the facility, a stark contrast of the ascending staircases, restaurant lobby and crashed planes. And so the next big fight arena, which the game again drops you into, echoing the previous one, takes place in a cargo access area, where there's elevated platforms, portals and boost tunnels that push you upwards to quickly move above and below. So in this level, 8 of the heavy enemies spawn in different ways with little repetition, but most of them are mobile and aggressive, which gives you a different feel to the overall battle compared to the rest of them. So 2 Baron of Hells and Arachnotrons can throw you off if you don't react and plan your fights properly. But it balances the fight with enough health and armor pickups, along with an overdrive power-up that lets you shoot infinite ammo for a short while. So choose your weapon wisely, unlike me. Which makes you constantly think and plan on what enemies you want to use these items on, and where you want to use your glory kills and chainsaws. It's surprisingly a tactical shooter, only everything is real time and incredibly fast. That's not to say it's entirely perfect though. With the battle out of the way, it slows down the pace to a crawl into a tunnel and a room filled with purple sludge, along with some enemies. This feels totally lame as it's tedious to navigate and annoying to fight with no movement and mobility. Anyway, that leads up to the second turret to blast the second tentacle out of the way, so we could open the door back in the courtyard. You fight your way into the car park and you're back in the courtyard completing the horseshoe loop without even knowing it. So you enter Samuel Base to get him to talk, only for the most controversial boss to walk in and fight you. Yeah, the Marauder uses hit scan weapons, makes you wait for an opening unlike any other demon, and brings the pace of the fight to a screeching halt when he spawns as a regular enemy. Waiting for an opening and getting in your hits, and pushing forward with aggressive attacks are 2 different playstyles for a game like Doom. And it often bisects the fanbase, but it shows that the devs are brave and willing to experiment. So yeah, our complex doesn't quite stick the landing, but its pace and enemy placements probably make it the most Doomish level Doom has seen so far. With unrelenting set pieces that are incredibly intense and make your heart race, and then culminating the level with a boss fight. That is as good as a recipe as you can find to make it memorable. Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to support my channel, and like the video if you did. It also lets YouTube recommend my videos better. Cheer.